Too long since we've talked to Megyn Kelly. Latest polls show that this is pretty much over on the Republican side of things. Trump will be the nominee, and then we get wild from then.
This is just a devastating turn of events for the Republicans not named Trump. I await some sort of development on how they plan on getting around him. The latest poll out of Wall Street Journal just shows it's an absolute crusher. The support for Trump is only going up, not down. He's overwhelmingly the favorite now. He's only amassing more and more support, even having not participated in the debates. And the number one rival, Ron DeSantis, is all but collapsing. The super PAC supporting him had an emergency meeting right before the first debate, which is about 2 weeks ago, sounding the alarm that they needed $50 million ASAP within the next 60 days, or it was a no-go, or it wasn't going to happen for Ron DeSantis. So that takes us to the end of October, if that would have been the end of August. So September, October. So we haven't even had one vote yet. And the DeSantis team seems to realize even before the first vote, which happens in January in Iowa, they're dead unless they can get a bunch more money. They've already had $100+ million dumped on them, and he hasn't moved the needle at all. In fact, he's going the other way. So then, okay, that makes us look at the general election. What we see from the polls is that the Republicans don't care about the indictments at all. They couldn't care less. They don't believe he did anything wrong. They don't believe he did anything criminal. They think he's only guilty of contesting an election, the same as the Democrats did. And they are full steam ahead on Donald Trump. However, there's still the matter of the swing states, the independents, and how do they feel about Trump? Well, the polling's not very good. They haven't actually been probed so much on exactly whether they're ready to vote for Donald Trump in a general election. But we do know that they don't like Joe Biden. We know they don't like Joe Biden in these swing states. We know that 2/3 of Democrats, and you can always add 10 to 15 to 20 percentage points on top of the Dem number for independents, but 2/3 of Democrats don't want Joe Biden to be the nominee. They don't think he should be the president for a second term. So this bodes terribly on the Dem side. So how this all calculates, if it's Trump v. Biden again, I give up.
Last one on Trump. The 14th Amendment. Lefties seem to be rather excited that there'll be a way to stretch the Constitution to make sure Trump's name isn't even on the ballot. How much credence do you put into this that certain lefty states that he, would never be able to win, which means the electoral count doesn't matter, but the popular vote would be affected, that his name will be on all 50 states come November next year?
Well, it's an absurdity to suggest the 14th Amendment bars his run. They're using this provision within it that said you can't hold office if you are guilty of engaging in an insurrection or providing aid to those who did. It was clearly directed at Civil War survivors, people had fought for the Confederacy, and making sure that they were addressed. And in the same breath, they talk about the emancipation of slaves. I mean, it's very clearly tied to the Civil War. And moreover, the Constitution elsewhere provides very clearly what you need in order to run for president. You have to be born here and you have to be at least 35 years old. There's nothing in there about, and also not guilty of an insurrection. That's not, they would have provided for it had that been a deal breaker. And they also would have provided for a procedure outlining exactly how you would go after a sitting president or somebody who's running for president based on a different insurrection, none of which they did. All right. So this isn't real. However, that doesn't mean some lefty judge in New Hampshire or elsewhere isn't going to give them a favorable ruling. And if that happens, it's going to go up to the U.S. Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court's going to strike it down. I think the letter of the Constitution is very clear. I think it'll be a no-brainer for the U.S. Supreme Court. And I don't even think they will look at this as a political hot button that they shouldn't touch. They do have the ultimate say on interpreting the Constitution. This is something a first-year law student can figure out. It's the political, forgive me, wet dream of people who hate Trump. But the Supreme Court is there not there to fulfill anybody's dreams.
Oh, I clutch my pearls when you say such things. No, I'll go one better at MSNBC. They're sliding off the seats at the mere idea of it. Now, let's talk here about... So, last time we talked about a particular teacher in Canada. They had Z-sized breasts, and it was clearly a ludicrous overplay of their new trans status. Same person, about a year later, turns up to school now as a bloke.
It's unbelievable. This is my favorite story of the year. I can't think of a story I like better than this one. It's just the absurdity of it. And it underscores what you've been saying, what I've been saying, what so many of us have been saying about this gender cult. This is a dude who put on enormous fake prosthetic breasts, enormous, like triple watermelon sized breasts with big lemons at the end, obviously fake and absurd, in shop class of all places. It'd be bad enough if it were in like biology or human anatomy. It's in shop class. They're supposed to be sawing wood, not producing wood. Boy, this is an R-rated show.
Thank God we're on the internet and at night. I love it.
We're in the red light district. It's official.
Correct.
So in any event, everyone knew it. And parents, even the Canadians, who are the softest, nicest people, they don't like to raise controversies, went in and said, my God, could we at least have a dress code? And the school said, no, we really can't. The guy went out on leave while they dealt with this. They refused to change anything for him, but they moved him to a new school. He gives an interview to the New York Post claiming the breasts are real. He's intersex, meaning he's got both sex organs. Bull, I don't believe any of it. And that the breasts are the result of a condition called gynomastia, where you just grow the most enormous Dolly Parton-esque breasts. And poor Kayla Lemieux, the name of the shop teacher, they just grew out of control. First, he wound up with a penis and a vagina, and on top of it, just sprouted the most enormous breast ever. In the middle of the school year as a shop teacher. Well, lo and behold, Paul, that appears to have been a bunch of bull. You can bleep me later. And after all the controversy, this guy shows up to the new shop teaching job as a man. The totally natural breasts are gone, as is the weird blonde wig. He's a man. He looks like any other man. And now the jig is up.